one of the things I want to just ask you right out of the gate. So, Commander Deaton, you have taken a form of disciplinary
We
action
have.
against him. Can you just talk about what you've done?
Yeah, briefly, I'll just say that we did the investigation. We called in over 17 people, I believe it was, that were said to be present at this place where the allegation occurred. And overwhelmingly, the investigation concludes and shows that what was alleged did not occur. Now, was there a comment made? Absolutely, but a comment that can be addressed with an oral reprimand, and that's what we're going to do. But in addition to that, I've also talked to all my chain of command. I had a meeting yesterday, every top level official in this agency, and went over all our policies in sexual harassment, including the county policy, and my expectations of this agency. And we have a zero tolerance policy on offenses like that. And we're also reaching out to our corporate human resources for sensitivity training for our whole agency, including command staff, including myself, because I want people to understand the message of what we will tolerate and what we won't tolerate. But what I won't tolerate is an outside entity like an attorney's office or an association such as TMPA try to make the decisions based on what they want, just out of retaliation or for two deputies at the time that lied. And let me go back and explain that, okay? Some time ago, I learned of a text thread that was out there involving a certain unit, our canine unit. And in this text thread, I was told there was some disturbing information. When you say disturbing, first of all, this was work related. And it was work related because this was a text stream that a sergeant had included all his personnel in canine, and due to work related issues were discussed on this text stream. So that's why it was work related. And then it was also subject to open records request. That means, Tony, if you wanted to see those texts, you'd make an open record request. And if I know that that is out there, I have a duty to see what's on that text to make sure there's no policy violation in that, because when you make an open records request, I'm going to be the one putting that out. And then when you see what's on this text thread, the homophobic slurs, making fun of special needs children by the very two people that were terminated. And by the way, they weren't terminated because of the thread. They were terminated because when they were called in for the investigation, when I found out about this thread, immediately we asked about this thread. They didn't know we knew about the thread. When I asked about it, they both lied and said there was no such thread. Those two, Aaron Skinner and Jeremy Stewart, lied about the existence of this thread. And I can understand why when you look at it, the homophobic slurs and making fun of the special needs children and making fun of chain of command, one being Commander Deaton, he was obviously a target. So this is the concern I had, and I had a duty to do that. So this is how that's all started.
Do you believe well, it sounds like you do believe, that there is a connection between your decision to terminate those two deputies and the complaint that was filed against Commander Deaton?
Absolutely. And not only that, I don't think it's going to stop. I think this attorney who works for TMPA, and TMPA has been all over this as well. And it's funny because TMPA makes this statement yesterday on your news station, on KVUE, and says something to the effect, I'm going to look at a note to quote, to the effect of, forgive me, I have it over here. It was pretty upsetting in that it shows a negative attitude toward women that should not be present in law enforcement. Yet, they are fighting for two employees who went well beyond what Commander Deaton did in his, because Commander Deaton did not do what was alleged, according to the investigation that I saw.
By the way, what did he do? What did he say?
So the investigation showed that he simply went in there and made a comment that in reference to the show that we were talking, that everyone knows about, and basically said, is anybody sleeping with the producer? And when he said that, some people will question and ask, first of all, that was inappropriate or appropriate. I will tell you that if he has information on that and thinks that could be occurring, he has a duty to see if that's good. Now, here's where I differ in Commander Deaton's approach to this. He should have not asked that question in open forum like he did. He should have done that in a personal setting with leaders in that organization, and this is why he is getting an oral reprimand. But he's also getting an oral reprimand just like 9 other people did in that canine text thread, because everybody else that did that in that text thread got an oral reprimand except 2. And they didn't get an oral reprimand because they lied about the existence of this thread. Simple as that. Had they come in and told the truth and said, yes, this is what happened, this is what we got, then they would have been still employed here, Aaron Skinner and Jeremy Stewart. But instead, Aaron Skinner and Jeremy Stewart want to talk about homosexuality, sending pictures of nudity, and about our command staff with just inappropriate pictures, talking about special needs children, making fun of them with memes. And there is no room for that, but that can be addressed. That can be addressed with the oral reprimand. That can be addressed with sensitivity training, and not to do again. And if it occurs again, they would be terminated. But instead, they chose to come in here, Aaron Skinner and Jeremy Stewart, and said there's no such existence. They lied. There's no room in law enforcement for an integrity issue. In fact, the public would be upset with me had I let them stay employed because of their integrity issue. And I would agree with them. When you lie in this organization, we don't tolerate it. And the other problem is you have organizations that are outside, such as TMPA and Robert McCabe, who is getting paid by TMA to fight for these two people. He has a financial interest in this, of course, and he's making posts about me in a negative kind of tone without even calling me first. He represents people that are going to be employed or terminated or disciplined through this agency, and he's making public posts on his professional firm, and instead of picking up the phone like he's done many times before, but he's taking this personal for some reason.
So back to Commander Deaton, are you suggesting that he asked that question as part of a legitimate concern about something going on in the department, or was this kind of boys' talk?
I'm not suggesting either one. I'm just suggesting that that was the comment that was made. And in tone, if you compare that with the allegation that was presented to you and to everybody else that Robert McCabe mailed it to, it is apples and oranges, completely different. But make no mistake, I do not condone even that comment, and if it wasn't a negative tone. But it would still fit within our policy when we talk about the procedure we did in disciplining with an oral reprimand. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So again, what his question was is anybody sleeping with this producer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And sort of the reason he asked that is sort of we don't know.
That's correct.
He asked that, but you have given him an oral reprimand, which is consistent with the other texters, with the exception of those two.
For lying, yes.
Yes.
And they would have been with the other 9 had they just been truthful.
Right. But it also sounds like, and again, I just want to ask this, you are also saying to your staff, here and now, you guys cut this out.
No, I'm not saying that. I already said it yesterday. I was very clear, and I've even talked to some command staff since then, and they are crystal clear on what's going on. Now we have to pass that down through our organization, and that's their orders and that's their instructions, and that's my expectation. Otherwise, there'll be other people that are not employed here. And again, I want to reiterate that Robert McCabe, TMPA, is not done with Williamson County Sheriff's Office. They will do whatever it is they can to put a stain on this agency, because let me remind you, since I've been here 2.5 years, we've done a lot of changes, a lot of things I'm very proud of. Many things that we've done for the community, that reach out in the community. And when you hold people accountable for their actions, and the good old boy system that I've always talked about, initially we knew who those good old boys were and we got rid of them for whatever reasons that were legit and legal. Now I don't know who those people are, and those are the people working behind the scenes trying to get any little whisper of a rumor and opening that rumor up into a big ordeal that's just not accurate at all, like in this case. And they will use that to try to destroy Sheriff Chody, the chain of command, and whoever else is siding with my organization. And that's their intent. Make no mistake, this is not the last you heard of them. And when you do, I'm going to remind you of this conversation right here. And I'm going to call KVUE and ask you to play that part again, please.
But you were saying to your staff, we have sexual harassment policies in place, and just say again what your expectation is.
Well, it's a zero tolerance policy. There's no, I mean, we have a policy that we read over it, they read over it, and they understand should they violate that policy, there'll be no, just a zero tolerance policy. But even more than that, we're reaching out to HR, our human resource director, in county, our corporate, because obviously we have an issue here when we talk about a K-9 text of 9, and then the commander involved as well, if that's one you want to count as well. So if we notice this issue, maybe we reach outside our organization for that help and that sensitivity training, and I have no problem with that, and that's what we're doing. I think that's a good approach on our part.